The crystal champagne glasses clinked in perfect rhythm as my stepmother, Diana, lifted her third toast of the evening. The ballroom glittered with golden lights reflecting off the chandeliers, and soft classical music floated through the air. Yet beneath all the elegance, tension pulsed like a living thing. "To my darling husband's retirement," she announced, her designer gown shimmering like liquid silver, "and to selling this tired old company for something more exciting." The guests laughed politely, though several exchanged uneasy glances. Everyone in the room knew Chen Manufacturing wasn't tired. Its revenue had doubled in the last 3 years, but Diana liked to pretend it was ancient history, something to be tossed aside like last season's purse. My father's smile twitched, a barely visible crack in an otherwise calm expression. I knew that look. Even after 30 years of building the company with his own hands, he'd rather swallow his feelings than embarrass his wife in public. It was both his greatest strength and his greatest weakness. But Diana hadn't finished humiliating him. She never knew when to stop. Her eyes, cold, sharp, and glittering with performative kindness, found me across the room. "Of course," she said loudly, projecting her voice just enough for the board members to hear. "Some people thought they'd inherit this company." My stomach tightened. "Here we go." "Poor little Alexandra," she continued sweetly, "thinking Daddy would hand over a multi-million-dollar business to someone who can't even keep a relationship longer than 6 months. A ripple of discomfort spread across the room. One board member choked on his drink. Another pretended to inspect the ceiling. My father's gaze sank to the polished marble floor. And I? I simply took another sip of champagne. Let her enjoy her performance. The curtain would fall soon enough. "It's for the best," Diana went on, placing a hand on her perfectly flat stomach as if she were posing for a magazine cover. "Running a company requires maturity, stability, a proper family image." Ah yes, the heir she'd been hinting at for months. Her attempt to cement her place in my father's legacy. I kept my face calm, the picture of professional composure. If she only knew how much she had already lost. She flashed her pearly smile. "Would you like to say something, Alexandra? Perhaps congratulate your father on his retirement and his wise decision about the company's future?" The room held its breath. I stood slowly, smoothing my black blazer. The subtle movement of voices and glasses faded into silence as every eye turned to me. "Actually," I said, my voice clear and steady, "I do have something to say." Very calmly, I walked to the center of the room. Diana's smirk widened, believing she had cornered me into an emotional breakdown. Instead, I set my briefcase on the table and withdrew a thick envelope sealed with a company crest. 6 months ago, I began, projecting my voice the way my mother had taught me. Chen Manufacturing underwent a quiet restructuring. The board approved it unanimously. A murmur spread through the crowd. I paused, meeting the eyes of each board member. They nodded, some proudly, others nervously. My father transferred majority ownership to a new holding company. My father blinked, startled. Diana's smile grew strained. "The holding company is called NLW Enterprises." Diana frowned. "NLW? Mary Louise Wong," I said softly, "my mother's name." The impact hit the room like a shockwave. Conversations died instantly. A woman gasped. Diana's glass trembled in her hand. "What are you talking about?" she spat. I opened the envelope with deliberate calm and laid out document after document, certificates, transfer signatures, board approvals, all neatly organized. "These papers show that I own 67% of Chen Manufacturing through NLW Enterprises. My father holds 30%, and the remaining 3% is for our most loyal employees." The entire ballroom erupted into chaos. Voices overlapped, outrage, confusion, disbelief. Diana lunged forward, clawing at the documents as though tearing them apart would change the ink. "This is impossible," she shrieked. "James, tell her this is impossible." But my father was smiling, genuinely smiling, for the first time in years. "It's all legal, Diana," he said quietly. "Alexandra earned this. She's been practically running the company for the past 2 years while I've been distracted." The word distracted hung in the air like an accusation. Diana's face drained of color. But, we have plans," she cried. "The house in the Hamptons, the yacht club membership, The renovation. I pulled out another sheet. Yes, the renovation. Along with the consulting fees your brother billed through his fake marketing firm. A few people gasped. And the flights labeled as business research, which somehow always ended at 5-star spas. You wouldn't dare, Diana whispered. I already have. The board has approved a full audit. The authorities are reviewing your expenses as we speak. Her knees wobbled. James, she screamed, lunging toward my father. Stop her. Say something. Do something. My father straightened, shoulders firm in a way I hadn't seen since my mother was alive. My late wife built this company with me, he said, and she made me promise that when the time came, Alexandra would lead it. You made me forget that, but I remember now. Diana's expression turned feral. Her designer purse fell open as she scrambled for her phone, scattering makeup, receipts, and there it was. A small black USB drive. My father inhaled sharply. He recognized it too. I believe this belongs to us, I said, picking it up with a gloved hand. Funny, I thought it went missing months ago. Diana froze. My voice lowered dangerously. It contains prototypes for next year's designs, and judging by your lunch meetings with our competitors. Her eyes widened with fear. You were looking for a buyer. She snapped. With a wild scream, she raised her hand to slap me, but my father caught her wrist midair, his grip iron strong. That's enough, he said. Security will escort you out, I said calmly. Your personal items will be returned after we ensure none contain stolen property. 2 guards approached. Diana thrashed like a cornered animal. You can't do this, she shrieked. James, I'm your wife. Not anymore, my father whispered. The prenup has a clause about corporate espionage. Diana shrieked until the ballroom doors slammed shut behind her, her voice echoing down the marble hallway. For a long moment, the room was silent. Then the applause began. Soft at first, hesitant, then stronger, then overwhelming. Board members came forward. Investors shook my hand. Employees I'd mentored hugged me. My father placed a trembling hand on my shoulder. I'm proud of you, he whispered. And as the noise swelled around me, admiration, relief, respect, I finally felt what my mother must have felt decades ago. Power built with integrity, strength forged through loyalty, and a legacy worth fighting for. Many employees who'd suffered under Diana's reign looked relieved, and my father pulled me into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, Alex, he whispered. I've been such a fool. Your mother would be so proud of you. I held him tightly, breathing in the familiar scent of his aftershave, cedar and peppermint, a scent that carried memories of late nights at the office when I was a child, drawing on the back of old blueprints while he worked, a scent that meant home. I know, Dad, I whispered back, but we're here now, and we'll fix this. But before we could breathe, before the night could settle, before the dust from Diana's disaster could even hit the ground, my phone rang. Marcus, again. Miss Chen, he said breathlessly the moment I answered. You need to get to the IT floor immediately. Diana's brother just tried to wipe half the servers. Of course he had. I met my father's eyes. His shoulders slumped as though the weight of 5 years hit him all at once, but he straightened when he saw my expression. Ready for this, Dad? He squeezed my hand. Lead the way, CEO. We walked toward the elevator together, passing employees whispering excitedly, some cheering quietly as Diana's screams echoed from the lobby, but I didn't let myself feel triumphant, not yet. I'd learned the truth early. Villains don't stop after losing once. They claw, they bite, they go down swinging. And Diana was no exception. The next morning, the morning after the retirement party, I arrived at Chen Manufacturing before sunrise. The sky was still ink black, the street lamps buzzing softly. Inside, the building hummed with tension. Dad was already in his office, sitting cross-legged on the floor, packing 3 decades worth of memories into cardboard boxes. His hands shook slightly as he picked up an old photo of him and Mom cutting the ribbon at Chen Manufacturing's grand opening. Couldn't sleep either? I asked gently. Been thinking about your mother, he murmured. She said you'd outshine us someday. Before I could speak, my phone buzzed violently. Marcus calling again. Miss Chen, we have a major problem, he said. Unauthorized access attempts from 3 different locations, and, well, you really need to see this. Minutes later, I stared at my computer screen as confidential company emails flashed across news sites and competitor platforms. But these weren't random, they were curated, twisted, manipulated to make Chen Manufacturing look like the villain. Diana, I breathed. She's trying to trigger an industry investigation. She wants us destroyed. That's not everything, Marcus added. Someone leaked a file suggesting your takeover was illegal. My dad paled. This is my fault, he said weakly. I let her into our home, into our lives. No, Dad, I said firmly. Diana may have started this fight, but I'm going to finish it. The board meeting a dangerous call. I slammed the intercom button. Janet, call an emergency board meeting, now, and get Victoria Chen on the line. Dad blinked in surprise. Your cousin, the federal prosecutor? Diana wants war, I said. Fine, she can have a legal one. The next hours turned into a blur, board members rushing in, lawyers whispering, PR managers running in and out like panicked bees. And Diana? She appeared on national TV. Fake tears. Tragic wife voice. Victim narrative perfected. I just want to protect my husband's legacy, she sobbed. Alexandra's takeover has devastated him, and now these allegations. I almost laughed. She was good, very good. But not good enough. A fatal mistake. Miss Chen, Marcus said suddenly, bursting into the room. We found it. He pulled up a screen showing digital footprints. Every leak. Every unauthorized login. Every attempt to scrub evidence. It all traces back to her brother's IP address, Marcus said smugly. Dad sank into a chair, anger flashing across his usually gentle face. She used us, from the beginning. Oh, it gets worse, Marcus said, scrolling. We found emails between Diana and Zenith Corporation, our biggest competitor, and they started months before she married your father. I felt my stomach drop. She targeted Dad from the start, I said. This wasn't marriage, this was a hostile corporate infiltration. Dad whispered, I was her 8th target. When Victoria called back, she was dead serious. Alex, this is huge. We've been investigating Diana's brother's firm for months. Fraud, tax evasion, money laundering, but we could never prove where the money was coming from. Well, I said, now you can. The fall of Diana. The raid happened faster than anyone expected. As Diana touched up her makeup before another interview, federal agents swarmed her brother's office. His staff was handcuffed, hard drives seized, documents boxed. By afternoon, both siblings were in custody. By evening, every business channel in the country covered it. CEO's wife arrested in corporate espionage ring. Diana Lynn brother ran multi-million-dollar marriage scam. Young CEO exposes industry-wide conspiracy. 7 victims came forward that week. 7 wealthy men Diana and her brother had targeted before my father. Dad cried when he learned. Not out of shame. Out of relief. The nightmare was over. The confrontation. And yet, I needed closure. I visited Diana in custody. She stood behind a thick glass wall, stripped of makeup, stripped of arrogance, stripped of everything except bitterness. How? She spat. How did you beat me? I took out a photo, Mom at 28, standing beside the first factory she helped Dad open. Because I was raised to spot vultures, I said quietly, and because you underestimated the daughter of Mary Louise Wong. Diana's lips curled. You think you've won? I didn't think, I replied. I knew. I leaned closer to the glass. You played checkers, Diana. I play chess. 3 months later. Chen Manufacturing was thriving. Stock soared. Clients returned stronger than before. Dad traveled the world, visiting places Mom dreamed of. He sent me postcards every week. In my office, Mom's photo hung proudly, her smile a reminder of the legacy I carried forward. A headline plaque sat below it. Alexandra Chen, youngest CEO of the year. At a charity gala, I overheard 2 women whispering. They say Alexandra is twice as brilliant as her mother was, and 3 times as ruthless when crossed. I smiled. Not because they were talking about me, but because they were right. That evening, Dad called from Greece. Your mother would be so proud, he said softly. I gazed out over the shimmering city skyline. I learned from the best, I said, both of you. Because in the end, real legacy isn't money. It isn't titles. It isn't even the company. It's the strength to defend what's yours. The wisdom to expose truth. The courage to stand alone when the world doubts you. Diana tried to break us. Instead, she forged me into the exact CEO Chen manufacturing needed. A woman of strategy. A woman of steel. A woman raised by a legacy too strong to destroy. Just like Mom would have done.